طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, can I get everybody close so they can see the? Okay. So inshallah today we're going to have the community town hall meeting, and alhamdulillah, as expected, people make noise, but when you invite them, they don't show up. But those people are enough. So we're going to talk about. So this is the agenda of today's meeting. We're going to talk about the history of ICC, AL-Rayan Islamic Centre, the priority of the new organization, the management and the committee structure, and the community involvement, and any questions that you might have. So before we go through, I'd like to thank everybody who has helped with the Islamic Centre of Clarendon, from their founders to the management teams to the board of directors, and to any volunteer who has helped with the Islamic Centre of Clarendon. As all of you know, the Islamic Centre of Clarendon no longer existed. And this is why we're here today. The property of the Islamic Centre of Clarendon was with Salah ad-Din Islamic Centre from the beginning of this masjid. And the reason is when the founders of the masjid, or the brothers, when they collected the money and they bought the property, they had to put it under a charitable organization. That's the law, I believe. And then they had an arrangement with Salah ad-Din, and they put the property with them for the past 7 years. So there was some challenges with doing this. It's the who controls who. There are certain things that you have to do. Tax receipts, financial statements, all that things. So, mashallah, the brothers made very good efforts in terms of working with Salah ad-Din and managing the place. They tried back then, to apply for a charitable status, and we talked to the lawyer of the masjid. His name is AL-Rayan. He's from Toronto. He has been in this field with the non-profit organization for, I would believe, 20 to 25 years. So because of the structure of the masjid, the lawyer said it's almost impossible to go and apply for a charitable status under the Islamic Centre of Clarendon. And the reason is because when you apply for a charity, there are certain rules that you have to follow. And there are certain structures that you have to do. So if you want to apply for a masjid, then it has to be a masjid. It can't be a community center. It can't be, you can't run a weekend school or a Quran school or whatever. So before you apply, you have to show CRA, what are you going to do, and basically what the objectives of the organization, and basically follow what you have to do. So back then, mashallah, the Islamic Centre of Clarendon was fully operated. We had a Quran school, weekend school, conferences, blah blah blah. So many things, so many involvement here and there, and because of the relationship with Salah ad-Din and other things, it was almost impossible to go and apply after those years. So they had before this is what you have to start simple and then build up. So you start as a masjid, and then if you want to do a weekend school, you have to go back to CRA, change the objective of the organization and say, okay, I want to do a weekend school now. And then if they approve you, then you go from there. But you can't start a weekend school and then you say, okay, you talk to CRA. That's they're gonna reject your application. So after this, after the lawyer told us, it's almost impossible, then the brothers agreed to stay with Salah al-Din. Okay. Uh, Me and brother Ahmed Bishayar and another brother, his name Naguib, is not with us today. We applied for a charity and we went through the lawyer. Alhamdulillah, the charity was registered back in August 2015. So our objective is to start a place of worship in North Ashwan. Alhamdulillah, we started that. We had the place in North Ashwa for a year and a half. We had the first location was in 66 Russet in North Ashwa, and then we moved it to Taunton Road, 785 Taunton East. And Alhamdulillah, it's been great so far. After that, because of the issues with working with financials, issuing tax receipts, and the problems of managing two organizations and one with Salah al-Din, and because we don't have control over issuing tax receipts, or if somebody has a question about financials, you have to go to Salah al-Din. If Salah al-Din board of directors say we don't want to answer a question, by all means, it's their right. Nobody can force it. We talked with the brothers, and then we agreed to transfer the Courtice Masjid Islamic Centre of Clarendon to AL-Rayan Islamic Centre, and then we approached Salah al-Din, and then because there is a trust agreement between Islamic Centre of Clarendon and Salah al-Din, they agreed on transferring the property to AL-Rayan. The lawyer went through the paperwork. He contacted CRA, and then the application took about 6 months, and then the CRA approved that transaction, and we transferred the masjid back in May 2017, just before Ramadan, like 2-3 days before Ramadan. And since then, we've been operating both places, the North Ashwa location and the Courtice Masjid. We established 2 different bank accounts, so we manage the financials for each location. There's no mix between the 2. So if community member decided to donate to Islamic Centre of Clarendon or the Courtice Masjid, basically, it goes to one bank account, and then all the expenses for that masjid will be paid for that bank account, and similar to for the North Ashwa location. This is the charity details. This is the charity number, and those are the board members and the board directors. At this point, we agreed. The board members agreed. We're closing the board. We're not accepting any new members, and we'll be running this. If we see there's a need down the road, then by all means we're going to follow the Canadian law and our bylaw when we submit it to CRA, and invite people to the board of director, and then as a board, general board members, and then those board members, they elect the board of directors. But at this point, we're keeping it closed until we see a need that we need to change it. So if we decide to change it, then we're gonna approach people personally and see who fit. It doesn't have to be from the Clarendon location. Doesn't have to be from the North Ashwa. There is certain rules in our bylaw. It's being submitted to CRA. We're going to follow those rules, and we're going to approach those people. So moving forward, everybody learn from their mistakes. There's nothing perfect, but we've done great things in the past, and alhamdulillah, we're going to carry on. And there are gaps that we're going to fill. So our priority for the new organization is to maintain high level of transparency in terms of financials, in terms of decision making. We're going to involve the communities more, and the community in decision making process and the masjid operations. We're going to increase the communications with the community, and we're going to facilitate the masjid activities and events in line with the community needs and interests. So, have said that, we're going to change the leadership style these days. In the past, the board directors, the management team, they used to do everything. They used to, if there is a problem with the septic tank, we're expected to go and fix it. If, after Ramadan, after the iftar, we're expected to go and clean. We're expected to do events for the community. We're expected to do barbecues and eat festivals, all of those things. But from now on, we're going to keep things simple. We're going to open the doors for the community to get involved. So we just decided that don't expect me to come and clean up the masjid if you don't want to clean it yourself or the community itself. It doesn't have to be you. It has to be you guys have to decide that what the masjid needs to be cleaned and hire somebody to do that. It's just too much for us to do everything. We had because we're doing this, on our shoulders. We're carrying this on our shoulders. There are things happen. Like for example, the septic tank in Ramadan. There are brothers came and approached us and they say, "Oh, you should have a plan B." So something like this, doesn't happen every week. So we can't expect something like this. And you can't blame us for the septic tanks not working. This is the structure of the building. If the system doesn't clean after themselves, they come and they blame us, or the masjid is not clean. We're trying our best. We have families, we have work, we have everything to do. We're doing this voluntarily. We're not getting paid. This is as part of the charity rules. The board of directors does not. They can't get paid, okay, or their families, or their relatives. So everybody here is doing it, even the management teams. Everybody here so far they're doing it voluntarily, and they're putting efforts. There are some people they put 20 hours a week, and they have families, they have work, and they're doing their best. But the masjid needs more, so this is why we need to get the community together. We're hoping that by opening those doors, whatever problems we have, will be fixed by getting the community involved. Alhamdulillah, so far, in the North Ashawaz location, mashallah, the community there is so helpful. Okay, I'm not comparing the two together, but I expect to reach that level. Where if we need something to do something, then we'll have 10 people to do it. If need to clean the masjid, and there's 10 people to clean the masjid. It's not only our responsibility. Sheikh Juma, mashallah, he's been doing a great job there, and the community there is helping him. So I'm hoping that we reach this level, by opening doors, by getting the community involved, by getting sisters, brothers, kids, whatever, involved in the phase. So this is the new organization structure. So we have the with the board of directors, and then we have an accountant. He's from Curtis. His name is Soel. He's a certified accountant. He works for the Minister of Finance. He'll be looking after the organization, so he'll be looking after both locations. And then we have a lawyer. His name is Afan Sayyid. He's from Toronto. But the firm in Toronto, he's one of them. He's a great lawyer. And from now on, if we have employees, imams, there will be under this structure. And then every location will have its own management team, and those management team will have their management committees. They will do things as they want. So there are certain responsibility for each part. The board of directors will be looking after the legal affairs of the organization to ensure financial statements are submitted to CRA. Writing contracts, it's the board of directors' responsibility. Anything related to legal affairs. Imams will be responsible for religious affairs, okay, and the management committee they will be responsible for the local affairs of the masjid. So, to get the community involved, the brother, mashallah, brother Khan, they created a sign-up sheet so we can get the community to sign up. And there is a form online, and there is a form here, and go around. and the committees will elect one person to serve on the management team, and then the community will suggestion and feedback will be directed to to those committees. So if the community has a problem with the construction, then they will approach the construction committee. If they have a problem with accounting, they will approach the accounting committee, and so on and so forth. The management team and the board members, they will make decisions. Those committees, they will be elected on an annual basis. So every year the community will have the chance to say, okay, those committees are not doing their job. Let's replace them. So it's up to the community to decide if those committees are doing what they're expected or they need to change them. Here is the suggested committees. We have construction and maintenance committee. We have the cleaning and landscaping committee. We have the event planning and coordination committee. We have the fundraising committee. We have the accounting and administration committee. And then we have the urban committee. We haven't defined the responsibility for each one. There is a gray area that for sure it's going to interfere with the board director's responsibility. So, down the road, once we establish those committees, we're going to work together, to build up the process. What's each one is responsible for what, just to make things easy. And of course, there is, for example, there is those accounting and administration committees there. We're going to disclose information and financial data and donors information. So there is a Privacy Act in the Canadian law. So we have to follow the rules. So if there is we have to get the lawyer involved in this to see what's the proper process to do this, and so we share the responsibility with the committees. This is basically our vision for the masjid moving forward. We're gonna change the name, so it's not gonna be Islamic Center anymore. It's the AL-Rayan Islamic Centre. We're working with the ruler to register either Carrington Masjid or Courtice Masjid, so there is no Al-Amin Masjid anymore. Then once we do that, we're going to change the website, we're going to change the Facebook page, we're going to change all the forms, the signs, anything related to Islamic Centre or Al-Amin Masjid. And this is basically our presentation for the day. So this is basically the presentation. It's now we're opening the floor for questions. If anybody has a question, if anybody has a concern or comment, we're happy to answer. This is the time basically to answer those questions or any concern that you have. And Sean.
So I actually have a question. I know I haven't written it down yet while I'm passing these up. So in terms of financial transparency, what exactly do you have in mind to be able to accommodate people who have questions?
The charities are, everything, once we submit the financial statements to CRA, everything is online. So you go to CRA and then you choose you put the charity name and you will get all the information in terms of, who's the board of directors, their information, and the financial status of the organization. However, moving forward, we're going to work with the accountant to do something either quarterly or every 2 months, every month, depends on his availability, to do an expenses statement and post it on the board outside. Then there is a process that Brother Samir started long time ago, which is once we collect the money on Friday, the tax receipt, not the tax, the receipts get signed by two people. Then this receipt will be posted on the web. So there are things that we work with, but this once we have an accounting and administration committee, then we're gonna work with them, see what's how we do it and what's the proper way to do it. But this is what's in mind, is to have a statement every 3-4 months on the board. Once we post it, if somebody has a question, they come back either to us or to the committee, and they could ask, if they see something wrong with the expenses, they can ask a question, why this, why that. That's basically.
Wouldn't it be better if it's every 3 or 4 months, quarterly, for example? That's a simple statement, revenues and expenses. I see in a lot of mosques in Toronto where a simple page is this is our status. We're afloat, or we're in trouble, or this is where we're at.
Yes, so we'll be something. We'll be doing something like this. We need to get the accountant involved in this.
Not everybody has access to computers and
we'll get the accountant involved in this. Again, it's based on his ability, because this is out of his scope to do a quarterly statement. So we want to see how can we do it. I'm positive that he will help us, and we could do something like this, like how much we collected, during those months, and then how much we spent on, during this month. Should be simple, but again, because it has to come straight from the accountant, okay, we have to talk to him.
File out every year, we have to file tax and it's accessible. Research and see how we put
The organization names.
So maybe you should run a course to teach everybody how to go on the CRA.
One day, those who are interested, we can show them or send it on there. One day we show how to go on the CRA.
So we have Brother Nadeem here, the third member of
Can you go back? Can you go back? Not here, no problem. There is one sheet that says about transparency and that's so organization. So 1 and 2, I can see 3 is talking to people.
Yes.
So obvious. 1 and 2, what are the plans? How are you going to be high level of transparency? How are you going to do that?
In terms of financials, we will be. In terms of financials, again, we'll be posting statements very often. And then in terms of decisions, we're going to get involved with the committees who are elected by the community, and we're going to basically talk to them and say, okay, this is what's happening, and get them involved in making the decision. That's our plan. But again, once we form the committees, there are suggestions how to do this. We'll take it.
You are not the church
I'm not causing by question. I'm not trying to cause problems. I'm saying that the key, we are asking people to contribute.
Yes.
And we don't see a lot of donations coming to the mosque, or at least I don't know what are we close, are we in trouble financially. Actually, I don't know that because we've never seen actually a financial statement for the mosque. But if we ask people to contribute, most people are suspicious to contribute because you don't know where the money is going. And this kind of transparency is what will help the mosque actually.
And this is why we're going to have the statements. We're hoping that we could do it on a monthly basis, but it's going to be too much for that calendar. So
No, we're not saying monthly. We're just saying.
if we could do it every quarter, then that's reasonable.
And then how is the committee or the number two? How are we actually going to make people involved in decision making?
Again,
a lot of the decisions right now are not being made by the people; it's made by the board members.
Yes. So in terms of the local affairs of the, as you said, there is committees that we're going to form, construction, whatever, and anything has to do with those committees, then we're going to sit down with them and talk. So if the committee decided to, rebuild the masjid, for example, we're going to talk with the committee, and then the committee's responsibility is to go and talk to the community. Okay. If let's say they want to plant an event, then by all means, they will talk to the community, see what the events they want to do, and then they will talk to us just to ensure that they're in line with the organization, vision, and in line with the Canadian rules. So that's basically what we meant by involving the committees and the community in decision-making process.
Along this line, I'm just wondering, I think it would be beneficial if we have for each committee terms of reference, something that to guide their responsibility, so they will know, okay, can I do this or do I have to go back to the board to get approval? For example, event and event committee. Can they decide on an event and the date and everything? Do they have the discretion, or do they have to report to someone and say, okay, can I do this? Just to see, okay, what's their guidelines? The guidelines, in terms of reference.
This is the first time we're going to do it, and moving forward, we're going to learn. Don't expect me to do it perfectly with no mistakes, within a year. We're going to form committees. We're going to work on a process, a procedure. We're going to define responsibilities. Those responsibilities might change in a year, 2, 3, 4. To find those responsibilities. Yes, of course, there is a guideline. Yes, of course, there are things that the committees will do without the board involvement. But there are things that we will be involved in because we're responsible. At the end of the day, we're responsible for the place. So if they're going to do an event that's against the law, they're not, if the government or police came, they will ask for the vote there. They're not going to ask for the police. So there will be a guideline. We're going to define the guideline. We're going to work with the committees on the guideline. And yes, they will have the power to do things on their own. But again, there should be a report, structure, how they're going to report it to the board director, and what they can do, what they can do.
Just want to add and elaborate a little bit about this point. First, passing on to certain tasks like getting your community involvement. It's not like dropping the ball onto the community and say, okay, there you go run the show. Again, was Ahmed explaining earlier, pretty much, I guess it was by default at the time, or that it happened to be that way, or because we always went through the experience of people coming in and saying, okay, we'll get involved, we'll help, and then halfway things happens without going into details, and then they just move on. So it happened, and it became our responsibility. The masjid has to continue to run with all the affairs, and the logistics have to continue to run. And therefore, we took the responsibility to continue to run the masjid affairs. So from this little experience that we have, 8 years, when we have the committee, when it's formed and all agreed upon with the community, therefore we'll have certain departments, as explained on the PowerPoint. Therefore, we can step in as a board members and management team as well, from experience and point of view, give you suggestions. Say, okay, from this experience that we have, to do an event like an Eid event or so on. This is how we did it. This is how we did it. Here's the contacts that you can, persons that you can contact to get the food, the person you can contact to get the tent, so on and so forth. Similarly to other departments as well. If it's, for example, fundraising committee. Let's say the community says, decided, okay, we want to expand, extend, tear down and rebuild, whatever the vision of the community is. And there is a department called construction and rebuild committee. Therefore, we're going to sit down with them and say, okay, well, to be able to gather and meet your targets from a fund perspective, we're going to help you to go to this place and that place and get your contacts to be able to reach your goal. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is not just here it is the responsibility, you deal with it and run along with it. Now we're going to, in the beginning, we're going to be working together to pass along the task, and in the meantime, we work together for you to make sure you have guidelines, not just go run with the task. And I don't know if I answered. Just want to.
From my side, it's a tough task that you have taken and you have successfully come to this point, which is commendable. However, at the same time, there are some masajid who are every Friday they have a chalkboard and they say this much was collected. So the last Friday's collection is shown on the next one, so that everybody knows. And the other thing is zakat, which will come. Do you have any organization that you're going to?
Yes, we usually work with Islamic Relief because it's a charitable organization and we feel comfortable working with them. But again, if we change, working with, if we want to decide to go with different organization, then yes, we're gonna announce it and let know the community.
I have two more points. One is having someone answer the phone. There are issues, family issues. Sometimes they need, whether it's a sister or brother, they need to contact someone.
Yes.
And most of the time, the decided have recording. And they have that. Of course, nobody will sit there. However, there should be someone that, at the end of the day, at least be able to contact that person. We have family issues. See that. And the fourth one is engaging the community in various ways, not just the program, but things like for youth, for example, we were just talking about engaging them, helping them choose profession, helping them choose or tell them how to choose their spouses, for example.
Yeah.
And then there is we heard about lecture on interest or will, how to make a will. These kind of engagements, I think, will attract people to the country.
Yes, again, this will be the responsibility of the planning committee. So if they want to do this and they see there is an interest in the community, then by all means they can do it. But again, I don't want to do something, plan events and then the community doesn't need. I don't want to waste the resources and money in doing such thing, and then nobody shows up for it. So
This
there is no
require
need.
money. This doesn't require money. It's just assigning someone some volunteer.
Yeah.
For example, family issue. Someone phones in 12 in the afternoon or 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
11 at night.
Well,
so if there is some connection that they can do.
This will be the imam responsibility to deal with those things.
So if someone is there, and then topics like, as I said, riba and will, how to make a will. A lot of people, their property have been taken away by government.
Great suggestion. So,
Not a question to you, but to all of us. How do we resolve this lack of involvement? Like, When there is a problem, there are 100 people yelling at you. But when there is no problem, nobody shows up. When you showed up, you showed up about 6 committees. There are more committees than there are people sitting here. They don't even
So a lot of people couldn't make it, and then still have an opportunity to sign up online.
You want people to show up? Make a problem.
Make a petition.
Make a problem.
Or bring food.
Bring food.
you should bring food.
I can comment on this, elaborate a little bit. And,
Silly. I'm just
no, it's a good point. It's a good point. But also from our view as well, no matter what happens from lack of getting the community involved, because maybe they're thinking, okay, these guys don't get us involved, or we say, okay, we don't think that there's people in the community that actually want to get involved and play that game, the chicken and the egg. We always, again, as I explained earlier, we took the responsibility because we want to keep the boat going, keep cruising. Whoever would like to become a part of the team, we welcome them, and and that's what we have this meeting today. We welcome them, and we'll be more than happy to work with them. However, if that opportunity, that door is open, and so that door is open, and nobody is interested, or maybe because today it's a Friday, they could not make it, or maybe they're watching on the YouTube, on the link. We'll all have always this good thought that maybe they're deciding we don't have to be here because of the technology. But I believe to make a fair comment is that we have given all the opportunities and reach our hand many times. Are we doing something wrong, or we're not going on the right path? Yet we have success stories. I don't want to claim because maybe we're a part of the team, so I'm going to talk only about success. No, we're human, we make mistakes. However, it seems to me from this community, especially this community, I don't think it's the involvement. I don't think it's the financials. I don't think it's the any of that. It's just the way it is. The community here likes to be served that way. Maybe because we made it that way from the beginning. All those 4 people or 5 people are always running to make sure that the account is always has the proper funds to run the expenses, and also the Eid event, it has to be there, and make sure to contact all the people that are required to contact to make the Eid party success, or many conference success, and so on and so forth. Therefore, they say, well, you guys are doing a great job. Therefore, we don't even have to be involved. So that's the message I take, right? That today, from today's gathering, I appreciate everybody's time and coming over here to hear and see our presentation. But pretty much all the people are in the masjid here. They're pretty much the people who are on a daily involved whether it's Ramadan or whether it's many conferences or whatever it is. These are the same people who are involved here. So the rest, they do care, don't care, I'm not sure. But the message I'm getting is that myself, I don't know if I'm misinterpreting this, is that you guys are doing a great job, and therefore you don't even need committees. Yet we give the opportunity, we give the window where we have all the forms filled and also so on and so forth. In the meantime, as we discussed in the past, we're gonna keep running the affairs. None of any of these things will stop us. We're gonna just keep making sure to strive for success. Community will develop. It will take time, maybe longer, because of whatever stories, history of this masjid, maybe that's impacting, maybe, I'm not sure. But when the time goes by and the success keeps coming from a management perspective, then maybe Allahu Alam, people start getting involved. Or the other way around, they say, no, you guys are doing a great job, therefore I don't have to be around. That's the message I get today. You're saying you did 100 over 100, and therefore I don't need to be.
I think
Alhamdulillah, just the amount of comments really I really appreciate you saying that. But the truth of the matter is that in the vast majority of masajid, really frankly, like anybody who's been involved in other masajid, there's not the whole community works. Let's be very honest. It's usually always a few people who actually carry the community for the whole time. If you look into any masjid, it's usually the same people who are always been there, and the replacement comes once every couple of years, and it goes on. And this is a positive thing, by the way. By the way, Prophet hadith very famous hadith, right? The people are just like Ibn everywhere. You're not going to find him a leader, right? Except for once in a while. This is how it is. This is truly how it is, in a sense. So the leadership is the one that, once the leadership shows what has to be done in a sense, people will follow through. There's a lot of positive things that have come out of the masjid. There's a lot of success stories that have come out of the masjid. Negatives always overcloud positive. This is not something that's just close to our masjid in any sense. So one shouldn't think of it in that sense. But at the same time, and I'm not meaning anybody in a sense, but one has to be self-reflective as well, seeing what really have we done in a sense to kind of encourage other people to behave in a way that we want them to behave. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not just always the people are not here, the people only talk when there's a problem and all, because these are negative comments that only add to the actual problem, they exasperate. They don't actually fix it at all. The truth of the matter is when you ignore the fact that there are people who are not coming, you just move on. You begin your work based on the people that you have, and you do as much as you can. People will start to come up without having to kind of poke at them, but kind of to point at them. It requires time, but that's all we have.
Yeah, I agree. So that's why we have this today, and just to add on to Sheikh Mahmoud, this is what we have this today, and opening the floor and saying, okay, come forward if anything we're not doing from a management perspective that it needs to be realigned or changed or so on and so forth. There you go. You take the responsibility too. So
I think these are steps in the right direction, and I think this is a way out from catch-22. We always think that well, we don't have much going on, the community is not involved, but the community has to be involved to get things done. So hopefully this is, some of us will take take it on and take it to the next steps. And when people start seeing success, they will be more inclined to join in. And I think this may take a little bit of time, but what I see here is a good stuff.
See, to be quite honest too, if I might elaborate on this, I'm finding very hard in the last 8 years, and Samir and Suhail will be maybe in the same, sharing the same thought, is that defining success. How do you define success in this community and in this masjid? From all the way from events or from religious affairs, all the way down to fixing the septic or cleaning the washroom. For example, events like in Ramadan. Ramadan here, mashallah, you find a lot of people. And I would say, if you guys correct me if I'm wrong, majority of them outside of this community. Comes here. We're happy to have them. We're happy to serve them if we have even more manpower. Some of them also get involved and help in the cleaning and so on and so forth. But events like Ramadan, many conferences, not all of them, but some of them get very successful. Eid Salah, always being leader in the area of making sure we are very, very clear on when Ramadan is, when Eid is. This is the points of success, in my opinion. It could be argued. However, it became at a point where we're trying to, and my work, everybody's work, it's not about pleasing. It's about achieving. So we want to make sure that we have guidelines, we have set of rules and goals to achieve, and we have to work towards that, achieving those goals. Along the way, if we come into emotional or need to please so and so versus and it's contradictory along with the goals to be achieved, there is no anybody's work. If anybody has a profession, there is no, the next day you come to work and they say, thanks a lot for your work for the last 20 years that you worked hard for. Here's your package. See you later. Because the company's vision has changed. Company's vision has changed. Talking from a management perspective, has changed. Goals has changed. Vision has changed, and you have to keep always evolving. Otherwise, you won't stay in the corporate world. This is how business runs. Coming back to the masjid, we also have a mini management. We have to make sure we're clear to the community of the vision. What kind of priorities do we have and goals to achieve, whether it's short or long? Very simple, straightforward, not 100 or 15. We don't have massive departments and people are CEOs making 1 point something million a year. And you know that. It's a simple form. And making sure everybody who works within the masjid follow those guidelines and making sure they strive to achieve this goal. So we made it as simple as that. But however, it always has been event after event. So very, I'm not talking negative, but this is a fact. This is a fact. From my little experience, this is a fact. And the brothers here, correct me if I'm wrong. People here in this community don't see success or don't see negative. All they do is say, keep serving us. Just so the message I get. Keep doing what you're doing. Yes, bubbles will come along at certain points. Sometimes you're going to make a decision that a lot of people or some people don't like. We're going to make a fuss about it. We're going to make a big bubble for a little bit of time, but a bubble will burst, and keep going with what you're doing. So community here likes to be served, and this is what we're trying to get ourselves out of that mode, out of that way that has been on for those years, and say to the community, the door is open, come in. I know the grass is green on the other side. You come in, you take the task, run it yourself, and let's see your talent. Not to put them on the spot, but because we really need their hand, their help. But today it shows that either people not interested, or they're saying, no, you're doing a good job. You're going to give me a bunch of blah, blah, blahs. And that's my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. And at the end of the day, whatever you're going to do, you're going to just keep running the masjid. Don't pay attention to Samir or Fulan and Muhammad and Jamal. I think majority of them like that. You're going to find only few. I know them by name, but I'm not going to say who they are. These people show up at a point, not to be a negative, but just analyze the situation from the last 8 years to date. There are always those named people. They'll always pop up at a certain situation at a certain time. But when things go back to roll again, they disappear. Then they come back again, so on and so forth. So we're resilient to that. Bottom line, we have goals to achieve. We need to think in the next level. Not only on the financial side and be transparent and so on. This is a basic things. But do we need to build a new masjid? Are we ready yet? Is that only the community? Is those 15 people in the masjid? Or there's actually more? What is the potential? How to draw the people to the masjid? Do we need an imam who has the qualifications in certain areas where he can draw the people into the masjid? Is it the events? There's a lot of things that we need to all think about. Events like that, like so getting the youth involved and so on and so forth. Majority of that is an imam responsibility. 100% imam responsibility. Again, going back to success story, alhamdulillah, and may Allah keep his success in North Oshawa. It's success. Why? Because the communities have that thirst for wanted to get their kids involved, wanted to be in the masjid all the time, have 5 times salah, have events, camps, so on and so forth. And the imam is helping them to do so. You want to fix a wall? Somebody pop up, say, oh, I know how to fix walls, and it's done. So we need to have that vision here. But because again, it's the history.
Vision, sorry, you keep mentioning vision.
The PowerPoint.
Vision goals. Those are priorities of the new organization. I'm talking about like, what are the goals of the new organization? What are the goals? Like, how do you imagine whether it's successful or not. I mean, these are just what you wish to do as you're moving towards that.
Yes. Well, again, there's no community to share that thought with them. So it's just going to be a bunch of blah, blah, blahs.
Again, I'm just going to answer this question. Once we form the committees, then we're going to sit down with the committees and see what's the vision of the community. So if the community wants to be, a community center or a masjid or whatever, then it's the community basically. We're going to decide the vision. As an organization, we have a different vision, like from corporate perspective. So our vision is, to have, multiple locations. That's our vision. But when we go into the details of each location, it's the community who decide whether they need a Quran school, who decide whether they need a weekend school, who decide they need this event, who decide they want to rebuild the masjid, they want to fix the parking lot. This is the community vision. We're not gonna, get involved in this. This is what's the community gonna
Again, we go back to this.
decide.
Sorry, you're not interrupting me, but what I was saying earlier in my previous comment, this is not something that can be left to a multitude of people. There has to be, now companies, they bring a CEO who can actually drive it in a certain direction. You can't have a whole bunch of 20, 30, 40 people who can sit here and talk about, okay, well, our vision is to expand, or our vision to have no, there's got to be a driving force behind it. That's what we're waiting for you guys to do.
Yes.
So we're thinking that we're going to leave it to all of them.
No, we're saying every committee will has an elected person. So this person, we're going to sit down with this person. Don't expect to sit down with 100 people and make a decision. No, we're going to sit down. We're going to eliminate it to 5 or 6, whatever committees we come up with, and then those are the people we're going to get involved with and make the decisions and come up with a vision for the masjid. But those people, they're going to be it's either on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. They're going to be involved with the community. I work 7 days a week. I don't have time to come and talk to the locals, right? Even I live just 5 minutes from here. The brothers don't see me here much. They see me more in North Ashore because my work is there. Okay, so there are things happening here. I don't know about them. Now the committees, they will know more, and if they see, what, we need to change the carbon, decided with the community, change the carbon. Come on, let's talk about it. They decided, okay, on the long term, we need to rebuild the masjid. By all means, no problem. Come, let's do it together. This is our mentality now. This is our leadership style. We would like to get everybody involved, and then our vision, our goal is to get the community involved. To see this place is full. When we come to Fajr, we'll see. I know it's impossible to see it full. Come all, this is at least my personal vision. To see everybody in this community come and pray the 5 days, right? So we'll work on it. It's not perfect yet. It's not in a way that we can. I hope we could present it here, but we're gonna work with the committees. This is the new thing that we're gonna do. It's not ready yet. Don't expect me to have it ready now. It's again, it's a learning curve, and the new people that we're gonna work with, we're gonna work together, hand by hand. It's not like this is work, this is management. At the end of the day, this is our masjid. Okay? This is our mentality. It's our masjid. And we're gonna work with them, see what's good for the masjid, and do it. I say that there are 10 people now, 15, whatever. But inshallah, down the road, once we show success, the number will increase. People, they want to be part of success. This is, always happen everywhere else. And maybe next year we'll have 50 people. The year after, 100 people, and so on and so forth. So, yes.
Have we got any list of people living around here? Have we got any demographic?
We have something. Is it everybody in Clanton? I don't know. I mean, we have a small database for Clanton. Is it everybody? I don't know yet. But this is something again we're gonna work on.
Yeah.
Ahmed, thank you very much, and it's really encouraging to see really people coming out really be part of the this community and part of the. Some people try to serve their community, but I'm really find it's very strange really to look at the success here. What's really the success? Is it, and also the relation with the community. There's no goal for like you see like there's a goal to really have the community. You do your best at the end of the day, and people have the choice. There's no way to to measure what was success by happiness of people or this or that. It's one thing. The other thing is I know it's really and it's very important. In terms of the management wise, this as far as I see this lacking of long-term or strategic management. Some people do that for long-term, okay? Especially like this event, this is a very excellent event. But running it at this maybe time or this, it's not the time that you expect to find everybody's coming, There has been seasons before. I mean, just soon when the community is here, they're already here. So once if you are meeting this opportunity and making the whatever event is available for people, you expect people to be more involved in part of the whatever event you're offering. The other thing is I've seen really like the role of the most, especially for the community here. There's events that are really scheduled. That are happening, in a yearly basis, in a monthly basis, in a weekly basis. So these are really defined. The Friday, the Eids, all these events are predefined. What I noticed, maybe there is, as far as I know, as I noticed, I'm not sure maybe I'm wrong, there sometimes is a very short-term planning. These events should be planned earlier, and made really success as much as the community can do. Accounting for how many people are there and how we can really produce a very successful event that really attract people and make people really loving this environment. Okay, always the problems are there. I mean, there will be some problem, there will be some challenges. The healthy community is that community is able to really take care of these problems or negative sides and really encounter it with more positive things and more learning from these some sort of challenges to make it more and more positive. So what I'm really encouraging is looking more into the long term, what we want to be in 5 years. Okay? How the community will look like, how the community will grow. Also, how we can really better manage those stable events, like how we can better do like maybe Ramadan season, how we can do like Eid in a better way, that so we can attract more people, we can have Eid event, whatever those events is more accessible to as much as possible for the people, and we have the community really part of the events. So if this event like this today, like presentation is coming in a different time, it will be more attractive, more people. People will be more part of it.
This is good suggestion. Again, we came late and we already talked about this. We're changing leadership style here, and we're getting the community involved. We're not, well experienced with running Masjid. I'll be very honest. And this is we're learning every day. We're learning. I've been doing this for the past 7-8 years. I have developed skills, experience throughout those 7-8 years. Okay, I'm still not perfect. So I just want to answer. I gave you the time to talk. This is now my time to respond to your comment, right? So right now,
simple comment. I'm not looking for. There's no leader expert.
Right.
There's no person you can bring today and he will be the best guy. Every community has its specialty, and the best person that you can bring from among the community was able to really learn and adapt.
This is why we're getting the community involved. We talked about it. We're forming committees from the community. We want to see if somebody has something to offer, then by all means they're welcome to come. If you see something that I'm doing wrong and you have experience in that field, please come forward and talk to me, and then if you do it better, then by all means, you could lead that. It doesn't mean that I'm on the board side that I'm not open for suggestions, but I'm always open for suggestions. Always open for positive critiques. If anybody in the community or in the surrounding communities they do things better, by all means, we'll welcome and we'll adapt those things. At that day, our goal is, to have this place full, to serve the community. This is our goal. It's really simple, but it takes tasks and steps. You said, if this is not good, like we don't have people because this is not a good time. Well, you have to start from from a point. So today we stopped it. If you see a better time next time, then please suggest it. But you have to start, at some point. You have to do
agreed. Just to add into that, sorry to interrupt. These are great suggestions, Abdullah already talked about in the beginning of the meeting. However, there is forms here.
Yeah.
Why don't you put yourself in that committee where you have visions and better suggestions for the community, which is those 15 people here, how to make I'm not taking it on the offensive side. Being on this area here, management, they have to take all the heat. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. And I respect all kinds of suggestions.
Whatever comment I'm saying
No, it's not a criticism. No, okay. No.
And we are really appreciating this.
We want to know.
Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you
Yeah,
guys.
we want to know the bad job.
Criticizing
Yeah.
your effort.
Yeah.
Your effort. You are doing great job.
Yeah, we want to know
Really,
that. Well,
you are trying to really give a positive feedback.
absolutely.
In a way.
You want to take a form? You want to take a form and be a part of that? This is great suggestions. You want to take a form and be a committee? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Adding to that, phases can be do. I mean, this is the basic foundation. This is good, but doing things in phases. And the other thing is how much is being spent on maintenance, so people will know how much where to contribute.
Again, this is the accounting committee. They will come. They will budget for the year. They will decide what events they want to do, how much they want to spend. Because again, we have to talk, we have to plan things accordingly, and then fundraise for it. Okay, so this is going to happen.
No, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. Phases means expansion of the
Masjid.
let's say, or in phases. This is what we envision.
Yes,
This is how much we will do in 2020 or 2030.
that's what we're going to do with the committees. Yes.
I see. And the other one, as I said, if people know how much is spent on certain day, maintenance, for example, so people realize, oh, this much is needed for, then they give in that.
That's
Yes.
a good suggestion. However, we only have 3 people for Fajr here. Just letting you know. So I don't know, expansion, it's a long-term goal.
Sure.
It's going to take years, but again, it has to come out of the community. The brother over there has.
Yes. I'm just going to answer this last question because we have some.
I just wanted a clarification from you on one point that I think some of you was mentioning that it's an imam responsibility to bring the people to the mosque and all those things you were mentioning. But if something happens wrong in the wrong direction, then whose responsibility it would be? Is the responsibility of the management or the imam? If something doesn't work.
Yeah, can you clarify? I don't understand what you're trying to ask.
I'm trying to ask that you said that this is the imam responsibility to bring the youth to the mosque and the people around and all those things you were mentioning.
Through certain events, agreed, yes. Yeah.
You were mentioning this.
Okay.
Okay. If something doesn't go, let's say he was not responsible for bringing those things. He was
Yes.
not able to. Let's you set certain goals.
Okay.
I don't know how you are going to measure those things.
Okay.
What parameters you have. Maybe you have certain parameters.
Mhm.
If he's not able to do this, let's say, so what you are going to do is
Well, there's a-
he's going to do, or I don't know how.
Okay.
These things.
So you want to answer this?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So your question is specifically about the imam and how do you measure an imam? Just to make sure.
Why you are just making it specifically only to imam, or restricting this responsibility only to imam? Why
Yeah.
not you are sharing to all the management or all this?
It is a teamwork of the management and the imam, but there's a speciality. I'm not sure if you're a student or you work for organization. Student, okay. So,
It's out of curiosity, I just asked.
yeah. Just try to simplify for myself to give you the right answer. In any organization, there is somebody specifically specialized in certain areas. And I think you agree with that. Mechanic is a mechanic, the electrician is an electrician, and so on and so forth. However, if there's a big company running a business or your school running the whole thing, there is a board of directors and there is doctors and PhDs and so on, all the way to the level of the student. If any of this system fails, there's always somebody who are watching or always analyzing certain people's job. If they're not meeting their target, and I think I mentioned that before, on my organization or anybody's organization, if you don't meet the target, they come next day and say, well, of course, there's parameters, and there's also warnings, and so on and so forth. But if things doesn't change, company has to move on. So coming back to the masjid, when there is an imam, there is a contract between the management team and the imam. And the contract puts specific tasks and specific responsibilities. If and a certain period of time of renewal, just to be clear. So we have a grace period of 3 months. And any party can dismiss the contract or nullify the contract within those 3 months, whether it's the imam or the management team. Also, when the contract is expired, it's the right of the imam to renew or not to renew, or the right of the imam, the management team to renew or not to renew. The specifics, this is something in between the imam and the management team. Could be argued, could not be. Just one second, let me finish it. So bottom line, I know where you're going with this. At the end of the day, this is the rules and the parameters of a management team, and an imam is the contract. And the contract specifies the right of the imam as well as the management team. I hope that answers your question.
There is always in any organization, there is always key performance indicators, how you measure performance. So you go and you do your job, your boss expects you to do it a certain way and to do certain things. So if you don't do those things, then you don't fulfill your job. Now, about community and involvement, going to back to your concern, this is the last point I'm going to take. We're going to get the community involved. However, the imam should be responsible somehow to bring those youth. It's not his only responsibility. It's also the planning committee. They will plan events where they can get the youth involved with the masjid. It's also the community. It's also the parents. But then from our own perspective, it's the imam responsibility. I'm just gonna end this here because we're gonna call it an. I thank everybody for coming.
Thanks a lot.
If you have any question afterwards, by all means, I'll be available for 5 minutes to take any question offline.
Shut down.